Here are 5 important things that you need to know about how to navigate the spiritual chaos on planet Earth. Hi, I'm Saratoga Ocean, and I work together with an interdimensional, interuniversal, and extraterrestrial force known as Telstar, along with Archangel Michael. There is a massive amount of spiritual chaos on our planet right now. We have religion, the New Age, atheism, ET disclosure, and the so-called truther communities. When you put all of these together, you can see that people on this planet share no real consensus about what evolution means or about the purpose of human life on this planet. This does not put us in a very advantageous position when it comes to collective ascension or planetary evolution. What it really does is to create a lot of chaos and confusion. Now, I'm not suggesting that this situation can or should be changed. I think it just mirrors where we are as a humanity. We are still very much in the throes of finding our way. So I am by no means trying to suggest that we should try and force our way into some kind of unified field of spiritual understanding. Religions have been doing that for thousands of years, and that has only resulted in a lot of destruction and mass death. So no, I have no intention of suggesting that we try and fix this, because it's important that we honor people's choices. Instead, I want to share with you some of the pitfalls that we face and help you discover how you can navigate through those pitfalls in a way that is best for you. Earth is nearing the end of its current evolutionary cycle, and I don't expect that everyone is going to suddenly start agreeing now. So, how do you know what's right for you, and how do you know who has the real story? Well, I'm going to say something that's just a bit controversial and suggest that no one other than yourself has the actual real story when it comes to your life in the cosmos. And that's because you set the course for your own destination in this universe. No one else does. It's called nature and free will. It's how creation was designed. Have you noticed that in the natural plant and animal kingdom, there is no management? Every living thing finds its own way depending upon the circumstances in which it finds itself. The only time that gets really messed up is when humans enter the scene. And that's because we have been trained like slaves to believe that we need to have every single aspect of our lives managed by authority figures. That's why we are so incredibly slow to evolve. You know, last summer I was watching a family of ducks in a nearby lake. I watched them go from being 12 newly hatched babies to being almost fully grown by the end of the season. What amazed me the most was how this mother duck was absolutely calm and serene the entire time. She wasn't stressed out, she was always centered, and the babies always responded beautifully to her signals. She was like totally zen. There was no fighting or discord among these ducks. It was the most incredibly graceful thing to witness these babies being taught by their mother and being so impeccably connected to her at all times. I could not believe how peaceful and synchronous their entire growing up process was. Now, this whole time, I couldn't help but compare this amazing little family to humans. What do you think a human mother would look like with 12 kids on a day-to-day basis? Imagine the plethora of issues. There would be plenty of disharmony to get under control. There would be arguing, fighting, and an endless need to control and organize everyone. There would be school, errands, after-school activities, cooking, cleaning, babysitters, laundry. I mean, the list would be endless. And that's what life looks like when you have a human society that is being completely managed and controlled by outside authorities. You see, these ducks, on the other hand, were 100% aligned with nature and with the earth. And we humans simply are not. We have constructed an entirely artificial civilization that seeks only to use nature and then live separately from it. We talk about going out in nature as though it is not a part of our everyday lives. And if any nature is in our way, we just destroy it. This is what life looks like in what we as Telstar refer to as the artificial kingdom. And that's why there is little or no grace in our collective lives. It's why we struggle so much and can't agree on anything. It's why spirituality becomes nothing more than a turf war around different beliefs. Now, I want to help you get a practical view of where this planet is right now related to Ascension. We humans are extremely tribal in nature. This is something that we should have evolved out of a long time ago. But we have been manipulated for thousands of years to stay in these spiritual battles, even to the point of being willing to engage in mass genocide and cultural suppression of the unbelievers when it comes to religion. And now today, we are willingly supporting the genocide of our own human species to make way for the ultimate singular religion, which is going to be a mandatory worship of the AI God. When women are referred to as birthing people and chest feeders, and when kids are advised to surgically remove their sex organs, then you know that the end is near. You know that we are undergoing a definite transmutation of our species. And when this is accompanied by banning the use of words like mother, father, man, and woman, then you know that something doesn't want us around in our current and very ancient human form. And I want to emphasize that our human form is not just some earth-based creation. It's one of the key forms of life in the cosmos. So given that fact, what is being done to our species is particularly egregious. Now, the best way to view a planet when it comes to ascension and evolution is to look at the collective human civilization. That's what creates the energetic environment and energy frequency that determines the larger outcome. So given that, I invite you to take a moment and step back and view the conditions on Earth from that perspective. What do we see or sense when we take that step back? We see a planetary civilization that has lived under extreme repression and control for thousands of years. We see a humanity that, instead of evolving, has been stuck in tribal warfare for far too long. Now, I'm not saying that the situation is completely and totally hopeless, but it's going to have to reach a point where on a collective basis, we are somehow able to unify as a human civilization and begin to understand what is actually going on. Now, I want to use fruit as an example to illustrate something. Many types of fruit begin as a tiny flower that grows and eventually ripens into a succulent fruit that is fully evolved and ready to provide nourishment. Humanity is likewise meant to evolve to a peak level of spiritual growth in whatever its current situation is, and thus be ready to ascend to the next level of evolution. Using the fruit analogy, if you leave that fruit on the vine for too long, it will over-ripen and then begin to rot. It will begin to deteriorate. And likewise, if humanity remains stuck in the same place without evolving, as it has for thousands of years, it will also begin to rot and decay. It will eventually self-destruct. And that's what makes us so vulnerable to AI right now. See, we get confused and we think that because technology has evolved, then it means that we have too. This is how AI gets us to piggyback on itself, only to swallow us up in the end. I think it's easy to see that our human civilization is devolving. A big contributor to this devolution or de-evolution is the fact that we have been raised to rely on outside authorities for direction while being told that we can never ever trust ourselves. We have been told that our hearts and intuition have no place in the greater scheme of society at large. The only thing that has a place in society is obedience and compliance in this ever-present system of punishment and reward. And we have been historically forced into worshiping a false god who we are told has initiated a spiritual system of punishment and reward for our very souls. This God is a lie because it doesn't emerge from love. It's a fake God designed to keep us spiritually enslaved forever. So we have rampant tribalism, along with thousands of different spiritual beliefs, many of which don't agree. And then we have the endless fights and arguing about who is right and who is wrong. And do you want to know why we are kept in tribes? It's because it makes us much easier to control. It's kind of like grade levels in school. Every grade is like a tribe that doesn't relate well to the other tribes. That's why you won't find fifth graders hanging around with third graders. If you're a parent, what's one of the first things you are asked when someone meets you and your child? The infamous question of what grade are they in? See, this person believes that all they need to know is what grade your child is in, so they know how to judge them according to social norms. And once they know what grade or slot your child is in, then they figure they know probably about 75% of what they need to know about your child. And from that moment on, your child is going to be judged against that 75% of fake so-called knowledge. It's basically going to be a question of how compliant your kid is with that paradigm. And this is the environment we're all raised in. So if you are a naturally heart-centered person and you are highly intuitive, you could have an extreme amount of difficulty trying to navigate through this harsh tribal system of control, repression, and conflicting beliefs. Now, I want to invite you to use some common sense for a moment. Let's just distill all of this down to a planetary environment of ongoing division and tribal warfare. Tune into the energy of that for a moment. Does this sound conducive to ascension? Does this sound like a civilization that has evolved and is ready to go to the next level? You should probably answer that question for yourself. But I'm going to bet that if you're honest with yourself, that your answer is probably no. We are collectively still a good distance away from evolving to the next level. So what does that mean for each of us as individuals? It means that each one of us is responsible for our own evolution. It has always been that way. We were just lied to and told that religions, school, and government were responsible for our existence and for how well we're doing as a species. Well, that's worked out really well, hasn't it? And now we're told that evolution means a total AI takeover of our bodies and our souls. We are now told that, hey, guess what, people? You know that God person that we've been talking about forever? Well, actually, we lied. It turns out that there is no God after all. There are only empty holograms and a whole lot of technology. And that's it. We are just meaningless bits in a larger computer program. And by the way, did you know that Earth is really flat? Now that'll get you nice and disoriented. Now, if you believe in the flat Earth, that is totally fine with me. I am not here to tell you what to believe. I just want to give you some food for thought. We are very suddenly being presented with some completely new and radical truths, all of which are designed to completely disorient us from the fundamentals of nature and from who we are as a species. All of a sudden, we're told that the Earth is not a sphere. It's actually flat and surrounded by ice. It has a nice big dome overhead. We are told that, we actually don't know what a woman is. We are told that the very idea of men and women is wrong and very, very offensive. And if you don't buy that, then maybe you'll buy the other lie that men are horrible creatures who shouldn't exist, and that women actually don't exist because there is no acceptable definition for a woman. Now, don't you feel nice and grounded and centered when you hear all of that? Doesn't that just immediately put you into your divine center of being? Probably not. And this is why we have lost the ability to live as gracefully as even a mere duck can live. So the first thing you need to know in order to navigate through the spiritual chaos on this planet is that you are responsible for your own evolution. And that should actually be a huge relief to you. That's the position you want to take if you want to reclaim your power. You want to start by reorienting yourself back into your inner center of being. You need to fully come back into your own body again. If you don't take this first step, then you can expect to be fed a diet of increasing craziness and insanity by the powers who only intend to destroy us. You need to give up the notion that some outside authority is responsible for telling you the so-called truth. Realize that if you are responsible for your own evolution, then it also means that you have many personal answers right within yourself. Which brings me to the second thing you need to know in order to navigate through the spiritual chaos. Now that you've accepted responsibility for your own evolution, it's time to get to know yourself a lot better than ever before. This means to get to know yourself without all of the social programming. Every person goes through various scenarios in their life where many things are expected of them, but we are almost never asked how we feel about such things. Maybe it was expectations from your parents and family. It was most likely expectations from school and from your peers. Now, one of the worst experiences that I personally ever had in this regard was when we were raising our 2 kids. I was acutely aware that my being a channel and a walk-in would not sit well with a lot of other parents because my life did not match any of their social norms. And I did not want my kids to be ostracized because of what I am here to do. I had already experienced being rejected myself for these reasons, but I was able to deal with that. But I didn't want my children subjected to this at a young age and through no fault of their own. So I kept myself hidden and pretended to be a good, compliant citizen whenever I was around other parents at kids' activities and such. And I hated every minute of it. And then at some point, I realized how self-destructive this was for me. And it took me a long time to recover from those years of feeling forced to turn against myself and live what basically amounted to feeling like I had a double life. Just to make these other compliant parents happy. And yet, the funny thing is I always felt awful and completely out of place in these situations anyway. It was obvious that I was never going to fit in, even if I tried to fake it. And I also made sure to never get too close to any of these people in terms of a friendship because I could only stand so much pain. So, yeah, it was pretty miserable. But such is life on planet Earth, right? And I actually had to do a lot of inner work to heal from this experience. So I'm sharing this with you because I think that we have all been through some version of this. And for me, it ultimately became a long process of getting to know myself again and feel whole again. See, whether this happened to you in your job, at school, with your own family, or just in general, you need to enter into a recovery process within yourself. You need to recover and restore your real self again, because the requirement to be something other than who and what you are can cause you to repress yourself in some very serious ways. And here's the thing, it's often difficult to notice what you might have done to yourself, because the more you are able to repress the real you in favor of social compliance, the more positive feedback you are likely to get on the outside. So it can be very, very confusing. And here's the ironic thing. The whole time that I was putting myself through this compliant hell, I was telling my kids not to be a sheep. I mean, how ironic is that? So basically, the second thing you need to know is who you really are on the inside. And this means coming to terms with where you may have rejected yourself in favor of other people's expectations. Now, the third thing you need to know to navigate through this spiritual chaos is how messed up this planet is and how much you've been lied to. Now, why would I say this? I say it so you can have perspective and understand the bigger picture. Now, I have done tons of videos with all of the details about how we are being constantly manipulated and lied to in order to keep us under control and anchored to a lower timeline. I try to present things to you in ways that you can see it for yourself. But for now, let's look at this issue in the simplest of ways. Most of us were born into a highly structured and somewhat coherent society. We were taught to rely on that society for all of our needs. And now we discover that we have been betrayed in the most horrible of ways. We were taught that if we learned to obey the rules, then we would be rewarded with success and approval from others. But now they are changing all of the rules. They are pulling the rug out from under us and showing us who they really are. They trained us like animals to be obedient, and now they are presenting new rules on every level that are designed to destroy us completely. Understanding this is important so you have the ability and the foresight to save yourself from their very diabolical agenda. See, it's no longer just about your life on this planet as you know it now. It's also about your future existence in this universe and what evolutionary path you want to find yourself on. So we need to be awake and aware of our real situation here. That way we can begin to apply ourselves accordingly and take a new path upwards again where we actually belong. You can start this process of detaching yourself from the controller's grasp by detaching your mind from their horrific propaganda. Don't allow their lies to intimidate you into a new set of beliefs that are ultimately designed to destroy you. Now, the fourth thing you need to know to navigate through the spiritual chaos is that we live in a multidimensional extraterrestrial universe. I'm using the word extraterrestrial in the context of expanding your consciousness to a wider frame of reference. Understanding this will open your mind to a much wider range of possibilities. It will help you to realize that all the answers do not have to be found on Earth. Strangely enough, knowing this might actually help you to relax. See, when we think that everything there is to know must be known from our position on this planet, in this dimension, then that can cause an enormous amount of stress. Do you want to know why? It's because it's not possible. It's not possible to know everything there is to know from our tiny Earth brains. See, it's kind of like this. You already know that it's not possible to drive your car across the Atlantic or the Pacific Ocean. So you are probably completely relaxed about that fact. But what if you erroneously thought that it was possible and that you should be able to do it? You would probably get pretty stressed out about it because you would have no idea about how to accomplish such a feat. The idea of this would then become a great source of anxiety. And likewise, if you believe that all the solutions in the universe should be discoverable from planet Earth, then you are also going to feel pretty stressed out because that's not possible either. Now, here's something for you to contemplate. Number one, it's okay to relax and not make too much of a huge deal about this planet. It's just one planet among a gazillion others. There are countless other planets in this universe that can support life in ways that are actually even better than here. So you don't have to put all of your so-called cosmic eggs in this one basket. Now, if you are here as a starseed or light worker, then it's important to realize that there are no guarantees that the people of this earth are going to ascend or that they even want to ascend. Just know that your presence here can make a positive, supportive difference as long as you stay aligned with reality. Not the fake reality of the controllers. I'm talking about the real cosmic reality of nature in this universe. See, if you have a tight grip on Earth as the be-all and end-all of your entire cosmic existence, then I suggest that you release yourself from that self-imposed prison. Just do the best you can and relax into the knowledge that Earth is not all there is in the entire universe. And the fifth and final thing you need to know to navigate through this spiritual chaos is that you don't have to be a part of it. You are a unique human being with your own individual journey. It's okay to step off of the bandwagon of the latest theory of how we're going to be saved. It's okay to believe none of it, some of it, or all of it if that's what you choose. Just know that it's your choice. You get to choose what resonates for you and what doesn't. Now, if you choose to step away from the chaos and not be a part of it, it means that you need an alternative. And there's only one alternative left, and it's a great one. The alternative involves 3 simple steps. The first step is to trust yourself. Don't let fear and doubt become your guiding force. The second step is to believe in yourself and in your inherent worth. You need to believe that you are lovable, not by other people necessarily. You need to believe that you are lovable by God, by the Creator, by the universe that gave birth to you. And you can only believe this by learning to love yourself. Now, the truth is that you actually already do love yourself. It's just that your natural state of love has likely been buried by all of the times that you found it necessary to turn against yourself in order to please someone else. So you don't actually need to gin up some love for yourself. You just need to uncover the love that is already there. And the third step is to make every effort to reconnect with the loving universe that created you and sustains your existence. This is the most powerful step of all. This is the one that will ultimately protect you from all of the nefarious forces that want to make you into something other than human. So those are the 5 things you need to know to be able to navigate through all of the spiritual chaos on this planet and find some peace and power again. And be sure to remember those 3 extra steps that I shared with you in the 5th thing, because that will truly complete a wonderful experience for you. Navigating the spiritual chaos on this planet is all about perspective. By adjusting your perspective to one that is aligned with reality and thus more favorable to you, you can find some peace and some grace in your journey on this planet. Your choices are simple. You can align with the perspective of chaos that we are being exposed to every day, or you can align with a singular, more positive experience, which is simply the experience of you as you really are, without all of the social programming that has worked against you for a lifetime. And the best thing is to align with your real self is to align with all that is good in this universe. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it out with anyone else who you think would enjoy some freedom and some extra peace of mind. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't already and hit that notification bell because I am here every Tuesday with all new videos. And with that, I'm sending you so much love, light, and high vibrational energy. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Namaste.